call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Troup City Council to order, noting that it is 6:33 p.m. and Chip Richardson, Carol Wilson, Joe Carlisle, Gary Sawyer, and Jeff Hale are all present. Absent is Nelson Donette. Darden.
That's not here.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask someone volunteer to do the invocation
Sure.
and begin.
Sure. Dear Heavenly Father, we just praise you, Lord. We thank you for this opportunity to just meet and discuss the direction that we try to direct our city, Lord. We just ask you to be with us, to help us to make good decisions and give us discernment. We ask that you protect us as we leave here. We ask this in your precious name.
Now join me in the pledge.
Use the flag up front.
Oh, outside? Outside? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, agenda item number 4 would be citizen comments. This would be brief comments concerning non-agenda items. And I remind everyone that agenda items should be held until they are called for on the agenda. Any citizen comments? Hearing none, we'll move to agenda item number 6. We will discuss and consider number 5. Sorry. We will move to number 5. Discuss and consider approval of a proposed resolution authorizing the submission of the Texas Department of Agricultural Capital Fund grant application for sidewalk reconstruction to address the slum and blight conditions in the downtown area. Gene, I'll let you introduce this.
Yes, and Mark with Trailer Associates is here, and he'll give us an update on this and answer any questions that you have.
Good evening. My name is Mark Taylor. I'm Gary Traylor and Associates out of Tyler. That often gets confused. Sometimes there are advantages. Sometimes Gary said, no, that's Taylor that told you that, not Traylor. What this is for, through the Texas Department of Agriculture, they do have funds that they receive annually from the Department of Housing and Community Affairs. These funds are what's referred to as the Texas Capital Fund Downtown Revitalization Program. Annually, the state funds 8 applications for this particular program, so it is very competitive. The applications are for sidewalk improvements in the downtown areas of towns that need it, also to make the area ADA accessible. I came and visited with Mr. Cottle about this. We walked some of the downtown area and looked at some of the sidewalks, and he said that y'all would potentially have an interest in submitting an application for this program. The grant funds are $150,000. In order to maximize your points, it does require a $45,000 match on the city's part, giving you a combined total of $195,000 to work with for the entire project. The engineers looked at the project, completed the budget on it, and it's calculated that this would do roughly 1 block downtown.
Both sides.
One side, yeah. And I think it's the north side that he's proposing to do first. If the project comes in under the money and there's funds left over, then it would drop back to the south side to try to continue with any additional work that might potentially be able to be funded with the grant funds.
And the red line is the area that is proposed.
So what, I'm sorry, you may be not done.
Well, what's up here, the map that you see there, the red line would be the project area. In order to submit this application, you do have to have support from the businesses and property owners in the general area, which basically comprises a 1-block radius of any part of the project. So that would be any of the businesses within the blue line at least 51% of those businesses would need to support this application.
So like a paper vote, I mean, how do you get that vote?
The easiest way to do that, matter of fact, we've completed a short questionnaire and provided it. And basically, it just discusses the project, where the project is located.
But for everybody's benefit, basically, the property owners that fall within that circle that he was describing, at least have a percentage chance to, 51% of those property owners have to see value in it, or more specifically, not be opposed to it.
Right.
Right, so, and that only means that then we can move forward with the application.
Right. In other words, that's a threshold criteria in order to submit the application.
Okay.
And basically what that goes back to is the Department of Agriculture doesn't want to take and put grant funds in a project that has a lot of opposition to it.
Right.
And so they want to be ensured that this is a project that the property owners in that area are aware of, and the majority of them are in favor of moving forward with that project.
And the verbiage in there, the blank verbiage is a requirement, but it sort of addresses the fact that, we've got some streets and buildings and things like that probably would come and fit in like that.
A lot of times people will get a negative connotation when they hear the word blight, but in this instance, basically what you're referencing is due to the condition of those sidewalks, it creates a difficulty for some citizens to access those businesses. And basically what you're looking for is making those sidewalks ADA accessible, so that folks that do have disabilities as far as ambulating, that are in a wheelchair or utilize a walker, are able to access all those businesses.
What do you foresee, do you foresee going in and taking out all the sidewalks, or just taking out sections and ramping them up? And, they're tall, so, what is
I can't access.
what do y'all see as what construction would take place?
The ramp would probably be parallel to.
Pretty much what you're looking at is the sidewalk in that entire block would be taken out, reconstructed. You have a cross slope with some of that sidewalk that would make it very difficult for someone in a wheelchair, in addition to the elevation changes at the west end. So you're probably, with the width that you have, you're probably looking at some ramps in part of that. Both ends would be wheelchair accessible, and then probably the mid-block, you would have an area that would allow it to be wheelchair accessible as well.
If you've seen the sidewalks in Overton, this is the same project.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that. I know they're handy and they easy to use, but the way they did it with those rails and stuff, I think it's.
We
not
don't have
very-
any option with ADA.
I know the ramps, but I'm just talking about
The railing though.
the railing. It just doesn't.
Architecturally, there are some different options.
Doesn't enhance, yes.
Yeah.
I would just not like to see it not look like they did it over.
Well, and that's something we work out with the engineer when he does the design. The grant consultant has nothing at all to do with the design. He just tries to get us.
And all we're trying to do is qualify.
That's right.
Right.
This is just whether or not we decide to attempt to qualify.
Exactly.
And there's only 8 cities statewide that qualify, and Mark and his group, and along with Gene's, active role in it, felt like Troup might actually fit this.
So what we're willing to do, say what we're being asked to discuss or make a decision on tonight, is whether we're willing to pursue it and come up with $45,000.
Yeah, and the 45, probably we would probably choose to approach that through TCDC.
I think.
Well,
I'm just laughing.
but that's what it's for.
Yeah, right. And if we come across, if we have some roadblocks, whether it be design roadblocks or other roadblocks
Can
along
we
the
opt
way,
out of
we'll opt out.
Can we opt out?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, and the other situation is too, that even if an area is not included in the grant process, if we have the folks here that are doing sidewalks, and for example, Doug today, I've already started distributing these surveys.
Okay.
We got to have those back by Monday.
Okay.
At the very latest. So I started distributing surveys today in advance, so there's no harm from distributing the surveys.
Right.
Of course, he's got some areas in front of his building that need to be addressed, but the reason we chose the north side is if you go to the south side of Duval, there's a much larger fall from the west side to the east side than there is on the north side. In addition to that, there's several buildings that have mosaics in the entrance ways. Those are of historical significance. There's not any or much of that on the south
I
side.
think maybe
Or the north side.
I mean, on the north side.
Hair salon.
Yeah, but anyway, so when you're dealing with that, if you're dealing with grant money, the Texas Historical Society has to sign off on that project. So that's an additional expense on that side. So that was the reason the north side was chosen, because it fit best with the grant money. However, when we get down to the point that we actually bid the project, we can do additional things outside the grant if we choose to do so privately, okay?
And
So we can say
did
to
you
the
not
contractor-
say that an individual who might have poured his own
That's right.
sidewalks with some sort of decorative, as long as the grades aren't
Match.
unacceptable, you can actually opt out and spend that money maybe somewhere else on the other side.
There's some sidewalks there that might be able to be
Passable.
blended in.
Yeah.
So that, and then there again, that's something the engineer, and of course, none of this may fly if the Texas Highway Department of Public, the TxDOT comes in and says, this is our right of way, and we're not gonna allow it to take place. So there's a lot of hoops that have to, I can't imagine.
But there's a deadline that we need to hit, that's not just the council saying, yeah, let's move forward with this, but also the staff is having to chase some paperwork from these. We need,
Do you see any issues with anybody in town being against us, or in that?
I haven't heard of
anything? Everybody's pretty positive.
Well, I
it
haven't
was
been
conceived,
Or jealous, or?
it was conceivably, we were all mildly concerned about what side of the street it happened on, and that maybe it might appear because some of the businesses on the north side of the street are owned.
I follow you.
So we're real hypersensitive to that.
That's
But
what I was-
we need
that's
to
what I
at
was
least
wondering.
move forward
Right.
with the application process, or we miss it for this year.
Exactly.
So deadline's the end of September.
I have to have it in my report.
Deadline's the end of September. for the
Yes,
grant.
1st of October, the applications have to be in Austin.
Right, and y'all need some time to,
That's the reason I'm telling everybody I have that stuff back on Monday. Because I had to get it back to them, and then it had to work with it.
Once the application is completed, then you have to have a 5-day comment period to allow any public to review the application and make any comments.
is that a notice through the paper?
Yes, that's also a notice that would be placed in the paper.
And we've already,
So-
these notices are already being published in everything. And we could not wait for council approval to publish them.
As well, yesterday, there was a public hearing held for this application as well. That was publicized in the paper, where you give all the citizens an opportunity to come and make any comments they'd like to make.
And there were none.
And it was, the public hearing announcement on our website.
Okay.
Did the public hearing announcement and that, declare which side of the street that we were proposing or anything?
No,
Because
it's-
that's where we will get,
Yeah.
somebody will say something.
Right, and it's not a secret amongst our conversation about it. It's not a secret that it might have the appearance of the wrong side of the street. So, we're willing, we just need to get, all we're applying for is the money, not really the side of the street. We're just saying it's more practical.
Well, this is.
Or is it specific?
It's specific
Yeah,
to that
it's
side.
specific to the
How much
side.
more would it cost for the south side? Or did you even?
That's an engineering question.
Yeah.
And it was gonna be, I think it was probably gonna be in the neighborhood of $50,000 or $60,000.
Yeah.
Plus the base cost. So it's gonna be a $200,000 project, it's gonna be $250,000.
However, it may be the time to do it.
Well,
It's a little tricky out there at the old Dale Riggs building because his front door is this much higher than the sidewalk, but I thought about this the other day, maybe we give him his ADA entrance around the corner.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
that'll be an interior area there.
Yeah.
It's an interior area.
all right. So we need to take action on this, and the action would be to authorize the city manager to sign the no, we wouldn't. To approve the proposed resolution authorizing the submission of the Texas Department of Agricultural Capital Fund grant.
And the resolution's in your packet.
Okay.
And it's here.
Is the resolution here? Well,
I so moved
read the resolution number.
a resolution, be it resolved by the city council.
Read that.
At the title. Resolution number R2015-09-15-01 is a resolution approving an application for funding through the Texas Department of Agriculture, Texas Capital Fund.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. So that motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 6 now, in the right order. This is where we will discuss and consider authorizing the city manager to sign a letter of engagement with the Akron Company for the audit of the city of Troup's finances for the 12-month budget period from October 1st of 14 through September 30th of 15, as per Government Code Chapter 2254.003. And this is our standard annual audit, and Lynn Acker has been our auditing accountant for, so there's nothing out of the ordinary about
And
this.
the fee is the same as it was.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we consider authorizing the city manager to sign a letter of engagement with the Akron Company for audits of the city of Troup finances. For the next 12 months.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion passes. We will now convene to the public hearing to discuss the proposed tax rate at 6:51 p.m., which is your agenda item number 7. And we will go to agenda item number 8 after we've convened into this meeting, and we would accept any public comments regarding regarding the proposed tax rate, which was published. And hearing no discussion, agenda item number 9, we will close the public hearing for the discussion of the proposed tax rate at 6:51 p.m. And then we can get to the business end of that tax rate, which is agenda item number 10. We will now discuss, but not adopt, the 2015-2016 fiscal year budget.
No.
Is that correct?
That's correct, I'm sorry. I got lost.
Okay. Yeah, because I flew through them 7, 8, 9 real quick here.
Okay.
Okay. Who was not here last Tuesday, Jeff?
I was not.
Everybody else was here? Oh, you weren't. So we looked, back in the day, we looked at a combination of options. We did sort of just some general discussing, and the budget that we're going to review now, and Gene will go into much more detail about that, is a budget that has a slight reduction in the tax rate. There were several other ones the current tax rate, which collected more money for us, and then a couple that were slightly less than that, but they were conflicting with the expense side of the budget, which we had already pretty well whittled down as much as we felt like we could whittle it down. So the rate that Gina is about to review with you addresses a slightly lower tax rate than last year.
Yeah, let me go over those scenarios again with you. That's, our scenario number one is what we published in the paper, was that we leave the tax rate exactly the same. And,
And that was what?
9215.
9215.
And if we did that, with the budget that I proposed, it would generate about $5,000 in excess revenue in the budget. Okay. And it was a 0% change in the total tax rate, but it was a change in the maintenance operations rate of 3.62%.
And the reason that he put that particular budget in the paper is that was our highest.
That's your ceiling.
We can always be below that, but we can't ever be above that once you publish on rate.
On that particular first publication, you have to publish whatever you think your highest rate might be, because you cannot go above that at that point in time. Okay. The scenario number two was if we set it at the effective tax rate. And if we set it at the effective tax rate, our budget was out of balance by $14,500. Okay. Scenario number three was using the next year's INS rate and last year's maintenance and operation rate. And the deficit in the budget was $126.46 at that rate, but it still meant there was basically a 2.7% increase in your tax rate. Okay. Scenario number four was all I wanted to do there was get the rate below 92 cents. Okay. And I did that, and that resulted in excess of $3,543.02. And
Gene, just a minute. You're saying in excess, but that's just,
that means the budget's in
The
balance
income,
by.
the income side,
is
based on the expenses that he prepared,
yes.
which we felt like were as tight as they could get them. Option, scenario number four created about $3,000.
$3,500.
Right,
There was $3,500 more income than there was expenses.
right. So we're a little to the good
Okay.
on that one.
I just need to know, the excess was kind of getting.
Right.
Excess.
And that rate was, the total rate on that one?
Yeah, that was .9198.
Okay.
And the monthly tax increase for your average homeowner and Troup on that rate was $1.71. And that was
$1.71 per year, or per
month.
So it'd be $24.
You said the monthly,
About $21.
It's $21.49.
About
for the average
$21.
homeowner.
I misunderstood.
Yeah.
So that's $1.71. You take $20.49, you divide it by 12.
Right.
$1.70.
Got it.
Okay. Scenario number five, I was just trying to get the tax rate as close to the estimated expenses as I could. And that rate is how the budget's figured. It's at .915620. That's a tax increase for the average homeowner of $17.60 for the year, and the monthly tax increase is $1.47. And that's a 2.82% increase.
Yeah. And it is about $1 less than the previous year's tax rate. We were at 92.15.
It's a penny. Oh, yeah.
92
Yeah.
cents.
So it's a difference between 92 cents and 91 cents.
Yeah. So the proposed budget that you're going to present to us is based on option number 5, which gets us as close to break even of all 5 of the scenarios that we can do. And we kick that deal back and forth. It's like, would it not be a little convenient with because we were looking at some expenses last week, sewer plant expenses, that second pump that we don't have, and what was that other pretty substantial?
The water line on Pasco.
Yeah, water line on Pascal, some TCEQ mandated things, and of course, $3,000 is not going to get us anywhere close to that, so.
No, it's almost it's a little over half a cent, it's 0.592 cents, is how much less than that.
But that's water stuff, and that's where we're going up. And that's why we decided to
But we won't cover,
go with this
but
lower
we,
tax
the
rate.
water stuff, when we
We're
start
going
talking
up
about that, will never cover the sewer
No.
No.
pump and that water line. It's more expensive than the water tower project. And it may be shoved on us in a year or so.
So this is our tax revenue at that, our maintenance operation tax revenue from that point, 9152 cents. And this budget's in balance, the general fund is in balance by $947.16. Okay. And at that rate, let me show you something on the, if you got any questions, we'll ask me. And
Can
I'll
you do that little slide thing that you did for Nelson last week? Slide that slide bar on the bottom right-hand thing over.
Oh, okay, make it a
Yeah,
little bigger.
better. Yeah,
There you go, like that.
yeah.
Perfect. In this budget, the general fund was increased by about $20,000 to fund a 75% increase in street maintenance. And remember, we did that so that we could participate in the asphalt consortium about asphalt. The water and sewer fund is decreased by $20,353 due to declining revenues related to the weather. Now, let me show you real quick the history on water and sewer revenues. I'm going to click out of this for just a second. Here's the chart. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. I need to increase the size on it a little bit.
Yeah, just to read the numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I see the numbers.
Can you see the years?
Yes, I can.
Do I need to turn it on this way?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
I mean,
The green is what.
you're looking at 12, 13, 14, and 15, and your three stacks.
Yeah. This is what we budgeted each of those years. 2012, the green bars, 2013, 2014, 2015. Okay. This is what we actually collected in those years. This is 2012. You remember, this is where you came in and did the last rate increase, was in October 2012.
Right.
So after you did that, this was the next year. We budgeted here, we collected here, which it actually came fairly close, okay? Here's your actual numbers right here. We budgeted 751, we collected 729.
We had a drought, wasn't it the drought pretty bad in 2012?
In 2020.
It was
Yeah.
11
It
and
was
12.
11.
It was 11 summer.
And then it turned wet.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 2014, basically what we did was, we budgeted here. which is-
Slightly less than
we
our
did
budgeted
here.
amount the prior
Yeah,
year.
this was your budgeted amount that year. We didn't make that, this is what you actually made. So this is what what I came back in and budgeted the next year. I said, well, this was an anomaly year, so we should get back up to this point here, which we did not do. We didn't even make this point
Yeah.
here, okay? We collected $729,000 in that budget year, and $654,000 in this budget.
So Gene, even after our increase of 12, we've never hit our budget.
Never. And that's even after reducing the budget, okay? This was our budget for the next year. I said, well, we didn't hit this, so perhaps we should hit here because we
That's pretty reflective of what you did in 13.
in 13. I said, well, here's where our number really is. So I said, well, I'll just take it to that number, you know. So that's what I
Considering
did.
that 14 was a wet year and people just didn't buy water.
That's right. So see, we're gonna miss it by more this year than we did last year. See, we only had one good month in water this year, and that was last month.
Right, right.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to have a drought to make our budget.
We have to have a normal year. A normal year. Yeah, you know, 2013 was probably a normal year. But, you know, this was a drought year, but your rates were too low.
Right.
Okay, so you corrected that, and then you had this year, which was a nice year. You know, you're budgeted here, and you almost made it. So then we get hit with the wet years. Of course, this same thing happened to me in the 80s when I was mayor. We had a bunch of wet years, and you know, and the wet years doesn't change the fact that the sewer lift station pumps go out and all that kind of thing. You know, it's very difficult to explain to folks that, hey, it's wet and you sold less water, why do you need to go up on water? And y'all didn't see our comparison to other cities last week either, did you?
Yeah, well, Gary and I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of in the middle.
So, Gene, I was asking a question over here. As you open that, oh, you're going to water rates, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
These are wastewater costs.
Which is
That's
solely
where we were
determined
looking
by
at.
your.
That's right, this is, okay. Here's where Troup rates, and these are other cities in the state of Texas with 2,000 or less people. Okay. And this is the most expensive place down here for 5,000 gallons, and the least expensive is at the top. So here is Troup at our current rate. Okay, and here is Troup at our proposed rate after this first one.
So this is the sewer,
That's the sewer.
which is based on your water usage, really.
That's right, that's right. So anyway, and you can tell, see here's Emory, which is the next, you know, they're higher. What you've got to remember now, these are 2014 rates, so these rates are already a year old.
Right.
Okay. And every city I've talked to is in the same, you know, Tyler has raised their water rates, and their explanation was water usage is down.
Right.
Henderson is bleeding about, they're going to bleed about $200,000 out of their water and sewer funds this year because of decreased usage. So this is where we will rank the worst, is in sewer. Okay. But nevertheless, there are places with higher sewer than we are.
But that first bar chart you were showing us a minute ago with the 4 consecutive years,
Right.
that was water and sewer.
That's water and sewer.
Yeah, so when we were looking at that bar chart where we underperformed for 4 years in a row, it was a combination of our water and sewer.
Now here is,
Garbage is not in there,
no, because garbage is passed.
pass through.
That's right, basically. Okay, here is the cities in the state of Texas that TML surveyed, and it was 285 of them that reported. And this is the highest place right here for 5,000 gallons of water, $96.25.
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah.
Buffalo Gap, is that their dap?
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Stay away from those, right?
And so, here is Troup at our proposed rate for 5,000 gallons of water. And here's Troup as its current rate. So we're in the bottom half for water rates, right? Winsboro, their minimum bill in Winsboro is $42.
So conceivably, although this is not really our tax, agenda item 10 is really about our tax rate.
Right.
In theory, when the water rate meeting happens, which is next Tuesday, we're talking about $2 a month. When it's, if we discuss this same thing. So, back to the budget. Since we're discussing but not adopting, will we be entertaining a motion to attach scenario 5 to the, how does the motion need to read? If
We will make a motion when we come down to budget time
So there will be no motion at all? Okay.
I just need feedback from you as to
Okay.
where you want to go.
Just
Okay.
direction as desired.
So I'm comfortable with the closest, I'm comfortable with the drop rate.
Me too. I don't like that business about having more than,
Right.
it's
And that's
not
what I
big,
think
I
that's-
think we need it, but.
I think that's what we,
Excess, you're not comfortable with that,
No.
and with the excess?
No, I don't like that word because we gotta sell it to them.
I think that your department head squeezed like heck, with the exception of the fact we put some paving in there that we didn't have.
Well, and John does a very good job of it, because if we're $100,000 short in revenue in water and sewer, we're still adding money to our accounts, we're holding that as much as we can.
We're doing this best we can.
Okay, is there any additional discussion on agenda item number 10?
Well, let me show them those,
Okay.
let me show them those things out of the, do y'all want to see those for the engineer's cost on what it would cost to fix the sewer plant?
Yeah, no. Yeah.
And this is an expense that we feel like it will be forced upon us.
Yeah, and let me explain why.
That's the deal right now, we're relying on sump pumps
Right.
when the primary pump fails. And should we have
Okay. This is what it's gonna take to rebuild our sewer plant.
where rainwater's getting into our wastewater system?
Okay, our sewer plant right now, we have one screw pump out there. And you remember about 4 or 5 years ago, that screw pump went out. And y'all had to get money from DCBC to fix that sewer pump at that time.
Just to repair the existing.
No,
Fixed.
it was completely replaced. It cost about $250,000. So basically, right now, this sewer plant was built when I was mayor from 1986 to 1992. So that sewer plant has been there a long time. And none of the infrastructure from that time has been updated since then. Okay, so right now, where there should be 2 screw pumps that operate, there is 1 screw pump. There's just a vacant hole where that other screw pump's supposed to be. So that really needs to be replaced, because like Joe said, we're operating the sump pumps, which that works fine as long as we have normal sewer flow.
Sort of this drought year.
Yeah, but if we have heavy rains and lose that screw pump at the same time, we're gonna have sewer all over the country out there, the sewer plant. It's gonna be everywhere but in the ditch. Okay, because the sump pumps cannot handle
And
those
we
kinds of-
drive all of our compliance with TCEQ is based on some parts per million of discharge or of fluid.
Right.
And if we can't meet that,
And the clarifiers out there have not been reworked since 1988 or 89. So basically, they're old and the weirs and that kind of thing are rusted, and mechanics, they're constantly have to maintain all that. So the engineer has given me a cost to fix those 2 items, or bring the sewer plant to bring all that kind of, or we could go another 30 years. It's a little over $500,000. Okay?
it's kind of like a water tower thing, when that day happens.
And this is the cost to, this says Lowry Street, but that was because when he was working on this project, he was also working on the school project, and that was the Lowry Street project. He just forgot to change the name on his file. But to replace the water line, the 8-inch water line that runs down Pascal Street, which is constantly leaking, if you notice, there's just patch after patch after patch. The cost is almost $900,000. Of course, not only in that cost is the replacement of the water line, but that's also repairing and replacing. Because you dig up the water line and replace it, then you have to
You
have,
run the street.
you have to replace the street. So also included in that is reworking all of that to bring the street back into compliance as well. And of course, the way I plan on funding this is, the water meters are paid off the 1st of October. That note's not 2017 budget, the $30,000 a year that we've been paying for water meters, we can turn around and if we could borrow money from the Texas Water Development Board, we can do one or more of these projects, and they will allow us
For the
to
two people that weren't here last week, didn't you indicate that the Water Development Board often forgives a portion of?
The way I calculate the formula, they will forgive 30% of whatever we bought because of our economic things.
So you're borrowing 7 cents on
All
a
of them.
dime.
So that's about as good a deal as you're.
Oh, yeah.
At very low or no interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like our water tower. It's a big ass, you know, and it would be a, can I not say big ass?
Not a
But yes.
It's
good public
recorded.
meeting.
It's a large amount, and it is reflective of probably almost the exact same debt service based on your model.
Right.
So it might not be as painful on our backsides, but it is. It will be a 20-year, it would become a, Gene, that would fall under general obligation.
No, this would be underwater.
But, but how would the debt be identified?
It'd be revenue debt to the water.
Okay. So not a bond, wouldn't go to voters, but it would require all
And
the public
it wouldn't
hearings.
even be the certificate of obligation.
Oh, certificate of obligation,
So it
which is
wouldn't
what we
even
did
be-
on the water tower.
It's just a straight loan from the
Water to water.
And
which
that's,
saves you all the bond, their certificate, you know, there's a lot of cost involved in issuing certificates of obligation or a bond. So it saves you all that, plus the 30%. No banks, no bonding company's gonna give you 30% back.
just hypothetically, was that should we have taken that opportunity?
But it takes a long time to process that. You didn't have that
That's true,
time.
we did, that's true.
And there's no guarantee that if you applied, that you're gonna get it. You were in a position where you could not take any chances.
Right.
You had eliminated all options.
We were in the deadline, that's right.
That's right. And that's what we're trying to do with this. I'm trying to get this planned ahead of time so that TCEQ doesn't give us a
short
no option
fuse.
situation.
I see it, I dig it.
It takes, but it costs just as money to fix something now as it does later.
Right.
And probably more later.
Maybe more later.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like the ditch we cleaned out. We spent $50,000 to clean out that ditch. That if that ditch has been cleaned out every 3 or 4 years at $7,500 or $8,000, we wouldn't have been out.
Right,
So you either spend it now or you spend it
more later.
later. That's right. And it's kind of to show you how tax rates have gone. Can you see that chart all right? This is our tax rate in 2011. And you remember part of the reason the tax rates were that low in 2011 was because there was a lot of oil and gas valuations on the tax roll. And as those began to fall off, then your tax rate began to rise. And this was your M&O rate in 2011, 2012, and that was your debt service rate. That was the first year of the water tower operating, correct? This is 2012, 2013. Your maintenance operations was 75.75956, and your debt service was here. And what we've managed to do over the past 3 years is we have managed to lower that. Well, the debt service has come down, but we've also.
INS stayed pretty close.
Pretty close, yeah. And of course, the INS will
Of
go up.
course, it shouldn't change much, that's a fixed amount.
Well, no, it goes up a little bit next year because there's some bonds that are paid off next year. So it goes up $3,000 or $4,000
Okay.
next year. But not a huge amount. And also what we managed to do is we're managing to hold the line even with all these things we're doing on the maintenance and operations tax rate. So see, it was 77 cents in 2013, 2014, 75 cents in 2014, 15, And it'll be, if we set it, and this, I figured that at the anticipated rate, so and that's where we are. So we've continued to trend this down just a little bit.
You have anything else you want to show us on that?
No.
Anybody got any questions? And we'll.
So y'all are generally comfortable with this?
Yes.
Yeah, and since we're not taking any action, then we'll move to agenda
Let
item.
me ask you one more thing before we go. Okay. So if I come back next, at the meeting on the 22nd, with the ordinance to change the water and sewer rates, y'all are comfortable with that? We're just doing that at that time.
So we're changing them just from what to what?
Okay.
About 32 to 34.
Yeah, you remember that rate study that was done in 2007? We're changing them, we were supposed to make a change this year.
Proposed to proposed.
Yeah, so we're actually a year behind in making that.
32 to 34
For 5,000 gallons.
dollars per 5,000 gallons.
So $2 extra per
Now,
month.
does the rate per gallon also go up?
Yeah, the 5,000 gallons is, if you take the rate and multiply it by 5,000 gallons.
Yeah, I understand, but then after that, there's still be.
If you
Is
were
it
a
all
20,000,
penny per gallon?
if you
or
were a 20,000
dollars
gallon,
per gallon?
if you were a 20,000 gallon water user, does the rate, is that your question? Does the rate escalate?
Well, then the more water you use, the higher the rate is, but that's built in, that's been in.
And that's where it's
It's a sliding scale, but how many cents per gallon do you pay after that?
It's in the marginal, it's like a third of a penny per gallon is what,
Okay, I knew, I'm just curious.
or less.
Yeah, so that will go up slightly, instead of 30, it'll be,
Yeah, let me see if I can find that.
okay, just curious. Before we read it, we just sprinkle on, $5.
I told Carol I almost served my sprinklers. Was on manual this time last week, and I think it's still on manual now. It's what, just past the mid-movement point in September, and I'm watering the yard every night.
Yeah.
It takes about 4 or 5 hours for my sprinkler to cycle.
We water 3 times a week.
Everybody's yard is just stay nice.
Oh, there it is.
It's 392 per 1,000. So we'll do about 1,000.
What are you looking for, Gene?
I was looking for the, I had the,
No, that's.
there was one of the council meetings, I gave you the
Then
packet
you
with
have the
the,
base rate of 14, 13.
it had the rates in it. I was looking for the August 2015 meeting.
It had what in it, Gene?
It had the rate study.
Okay, yeah.
Let me see if it's here. I don't see it right off, but I'll email you all the rates.
Okay. All right. Any additional questions? So for clarification, we will also try to address the water sewer at that time.
And the average person in Troup uses a little less than 5,000 gallons.
A little less. So we're talking about increasing their rate about $2. People like me, about $4 or $5.
Or you think you're using more water?
I think so. Well, I know my water bill is a lot more than, especially when I fall asleep, I just break her out. All
Yeah,
night.
I had an all-time record water bill.
Our
Okay.
state's pretty low.
Oh, okay, so then we will move on with that general understanding from the council. We'll move on to agenda item number 11, which would be comments and input from the council, mayor, or city manager concerning items of interest or items for future agendas. Item number 11, agenda item number 11.
And we will need everybody here next Tuesday, because that's when we'll go on the tax rate. And we have to have 4 out of 5 votes. So that means for the budget and the tax, you have to have a supermajority of a tax increase.
So if one person's absent, all 4 have to vote for.
What's going on behind this? What's gonna happen there? There you know.
For now, they're just gonna clean it up
Pretty.
and put some grass or something out there, I think, so. I heard. Maybe you told me that.
No.
And on the
I'll
20,
discuss it with them.
the 29th, there'll be a joint meeting with the Troup City Council, the Troup ISD School Board, and the Troup Community Development Corporation, and the Board of Directors of the Chamber of Commerce. Each company is supposed to make a presentation on that. So I will post the agenda.
And it would be really good if you're in town to be at that meeting.
No, I'm vacation that week.
Well, we're not going to take any action.
No, this is just for us to, mainly a show of support and
And an informational work.
if there are no additional comments, oh, there are.
October the 15th is the TML regional meeting in Kilgore. And I need you to take this with you and let me know if you want to attend that meeting so I can RSVP.
I had an interesting conversation with a councilman from White House and Gene Keenan from, and I addressed that he has no knowledge whatsoever, none, of our dilemma. And I was kind of glad, it wasn't still out there. Between he and Gene Keenan with Republic, we had a discussion that there are some really, really wonderful opportunities to hear what cities of similar sizes are having to address that might be, options or solutions to problems that we're dealing with. If you go to some of these TML things, their annual thing is in San Antonio, right now? Next week?
Yeah, it's next week.
And it's an inconvenient time for a variety of reasons, but mainly because it's our budget cycle. But this one is regional. You get to listen to some presentations where they may share things that would be applicable to us as council members. So we're kind of hoping that maybe we might get at least a couple of guys and gals every other year. Like maybe a couple of us go this year, a couple of us go next year. And there are other regional ones. You don't just have to go to this region, do you, Gene? Could you go, if there was one in Dallas, it was more convenient, you could go to that, and they generally cover similar topics. Any other questions? Any other information you need to share?
So Thursday night.
It's a Thursday.
Thursday. And it's, probably there about 3 hours. Yeah, driving time, maybe 3 hours. If there is no further discussion, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor signify by saying aye.